welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we are doing my July wrap up. So in July, I had 3 DNFs, but I also read 6 books. And overall, I feel like it was a pretty successful reading month. I feel pretty good about it. 2 of those DNFs and 4 of the books that I read were actually in my summer themed reading vlog, which I just posted, where I just read books with the word summer in the title. It was a very, very well thought out and cohesive theme. Anyways, if you're interested in watching that, I'll put it in the description. But let's just get into it. So the 3 books that I DNF'd in July. First up, I have The Heron Kings by Eric Lewis, and then the 2 books that were part of the vlog that I DNF'd were The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, and The Summer Queen by Elizabeth Chadwick. And as always, I'll be doing a seasonal DNFs video, so that will be coming out at the end of August, where I'll talk about all of the books that I DNF'd over the summer months of June, July, and August. Okay, so then, books that I actually completed in July. First up, we have Summer of Salt by Katrina Leno. This is a contemporary YA fabulism story that is set on an island, and in it we're following our main character Georgina. She has a twin sister named Mary, and their mother owns the inn on this island. Something about their family is that all of the women in their family have some kind of magical power. It always shows up before their 18th birthday, whether that means they've had their powers from birth or it shows up like the day before they turn 18. Mary has had the ability to float her entire life, but Georgina does not have a magical power, so they're trying to figure out if she's going to get one, and the 2 of them are about to turn 18 at the end of the summer, at which point they also are going to leave the island for the first time in their lives to go to college. Another thing about this island is that there is this bird that is called Annabella, which is, there's only one of this bird that anyone has ever seen of this kind of bird, and it comes to their island every summer. They don't know where it lives the rest of the year. And there are people, like bird watchers, who come to the island every summer to see this special bird. Every year, it's usually like the same bird watchers who come year after year, and they know, and you know, Georgina and her sister know them very well. But this year, there are 2 new people, a brother and sister, who have come to the island, and Mary and Georgina each kind of have their eye on one of the siblings. So there is a sapphic romance in this. But yeah. Oh, and something else that is happening, something else that's happening this summer is that these bird watchers are showing up, but the bird has not shown up yet this summer. So the bird is late. And so we're following Georgina over the course of this summer as she's trying to figure out, like, is she ever going to get her magical power? She's like, you know, navigating a summer romance, and also they're trying to figure out, like, what is going on with this bird. So with this book, overall, I had a good time with it. I didn't have strong feelings about it. I didn't love it. I liked it. It was fun to read. And I overall just had a good time with this. I would, however, put a content warning on this for mention of sexual assault. It happens off page. But I think that this book reminds me of a lot of other things that I've read that are kind of similarly either magical realism, fabulism, about families where like all the women in the family have some kind of magical power, like Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore or Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. This kind of falls into a very similar category, but I think that those ones did that trope, if it is a trope, but those ones did it better. So yeah, I gave this 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad. I'm glad that I got a chance to read it and I enjoyed it, but I probably wouldn't reread it. Okay, next up, I read a graphic novel, which was This One Summer by Jillian and Mariko Tamaki. So this is following our main character, yes, whose name is Rose, who is this little girl who, I don't know exactly how old she is. She's somewhere between like 10 and 13, so like kind of a middle school age. And every year her family goes to the beach. They stay at a beach house, and she has a best friend who also spends the summer at this beach, and like they spend the whole summer together, and it's great. This year, however, is different because Rose's parents won't stop fighting, and so it is creating a much more stressful and tense situation at the beach house, and is very like confusing for Rose. So we're following Rose and her friend Wendy as they are kind of at this confusing transitional period in their lives that is that kind of, you know, middle school age. They're just like testing different things out to see what works and what doesn't. And then on top of just the confusingness that is being that age, Rose is also dealing with the fact that her parents are fighting and there's all this tension, and that is putting another like emotional layer to all of this. This book, I guess I would call it slice of life, but that makes it sound a lot cozier than it is. I mean, I would call it slice of life because it doesn't have a lot of plot to it. It really is just kind of following them for one summer, and there isn't really much resolution to anything in the story. It just sort of is like, and this is a moment in their life. So I guess it's slice of life, but like I usually think of slice of life as having a different tone to it. Anyways, I don't know how to feel about this book or graphic novel. Like, I don't think I enjoyed it. I don't think it was bad. It just sort of like, it was, you know, it happened. It was a thing. I read it. I think that it did capture some of the like feelings of being that age that these characters are, and some of the like confusion of it as they are trying to figure everything out and learning how to deal with people and life and emotions and just like stuff that's happening. I think that it definitely like captured a lot of those feelings. So if that's what its aim was, I think it was successful at that. But yeah, I generally don't rate graphic novels, so I didn't give this a rating. I don't know what I would have rated it even if I did, because it just like, I don't know how, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, but it was okay, and maybe it accomplished what it meant to. Okay, after that, I actually read another graphic novel, which was Todds Song by Wendy Zhu. And this is about this girl who, let me find out what her name was, Sophie, who has magic. Everyone in her family pretty much has magic. Their magic is very much tied to the ocean, the tides, the weather, things like that. Her family, the part of her family that she lives with now, I think lives on the mainland, but her the other side of her family lives on an island where they very much like protect the island and the ocean around it with their magic and their ability to like care for the ocean. And part of the way that they do that also is by having a good working relationship with the ocean dragons that also control the tides. So in this, Sophie has magic. She wants to go to a magic school, and so her mother sends her to go live on this island with her great aunt and I think like a cousin, because they will be able to teach her magic in order to take the entrance exam to go to this school. When she gets there, it's a lot tougher and less fun than she was anticipating. She has to do a lot of chores that she doesn't understand how this teaches her magic. But then she also discovers a mysterious boy who is somehow magical, somehow connected to her, but also has no memory of who he is or where he came from. And so she has to help him figure that out. So I had a really fun time reading this. I think the artwork in this is very cute. I think the story was really fun. I liked the characters. Like, it was just like a really fun, quick read, but I really enjoyed it. And said I don't really rate graphic novels, but I would recommend this one if you want something that's just kind of like fun and cute. I think this one was really fun. Okay, after that, what did I read? Oh, I read Midsummers Mayhem by Rajani LaRocca. So this is a middle grade about this little girl who loves baking. And in it, so she has 3 older siblings. Each of them kind of has like their thing that they're into. So she has one sister who's really into soccer and one who's a dancer. And our main character, her thing is that she loves baking. Her father is a food critic, and so this is also something that they really bond over. They talk about food, they make food together, and they experiment with combining different flavors and all kinds of things. In their small town, a new bakery has recently appeared, and the people who work there are a little bit odd. And also their food looks beautiful but does not taste great. So our main character Mimi really wants to help them out because she cares so much about baking, but she finds out that they are putting on a baking competition, and she decides to join the competition. While that is happening, her whole family starts acting real weird and she can't figure out why. So we're following her as she is trying to, you know, make her way through this baking competition, but also trying to figure out what is going on with her family and how she can help them. And the answer might be that they might be under some fairy magic, because this has some inspiration from A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's not like a direct retelling, but it definitely has elements and inspiration from it, which was really fun. So I had a really good time reading this. I really liked the characters. I think the family dynamics in it was fun. I love that there's baking magic. The like food descriptions were really good. She talks about food a lot and describes it a lot, and I really loved the way that she would talk about all of these different foods and the ways that she's going to combine different flavors and how they like play off of each other, and that she would also describe people as food. She would make comparisons between different people in her family to different foods, and it would really like tell you something about their character and personality. So I really enjoyed this. I think it was a lot of fun. And I give this one 4 stars. And then after that, I finished Summers at Castle Auburn by Sharon Shin. This is a fantasy standalone in which we are following Corey, who is the child of a noble lord who was born out of wedlock. Her father, before he died, made his brother promise that he would find Corey and bring her back to get to know this side of the family and to take care of her, because for the first part of her life she never had any connection to this side of the family, and I think she didn't know who her father was. So her father dies, her uncle comes and finds her, and since then she's been spending every summer at Castle Auburn getting to know her family there. So her uncle, her father's wife, and her half-sister, who she is very close with and loves very much, as well as other people, other characters at Castle Auburn, including the prince, who she has a crush on but can never be with because of her status. So when we start this, we are following her when she is about 14, and it's one of the summers where she's at Castle Auburn. She is about to go on a hunting trip. Another thing about this world is that there are these fairy people that are called the Aliora, who are pretty peaceful, mostly keep to themselves. They do have magic that can like ensculpt people, but they generally are pretty reclusive and peaceful. But the humans of this world hunt them to capture them and enslave them. So at Castle Auburn, there are these fairy slaves. So at the beginning of the book, she's about to go on a hunting expedition with her uncle, the prince, and some other people to essentially hunt these fairies and bring them back to be slaves. At this point, she isn't really focused on that fact. She's much more focused on the fact that she's going on an adventure and is going to get to spend time with her crush, the prince. But we follow her as she grows up each summer, going to Castle Auburn, and over time she really just like learns a lot more and becomes more aware of things that are going on. She starts out the book as being extremely naive, and I think overall she's just generally a pretty naive character even towards the end, but she definitely does grow and learn a lot more about the world and people and just stuff in general. She learns a lot over the course of the book, and a lot more about like people's circumstances and some of the not so pretty aspects of Castle Auburn, because for a long time many of her friends have really shielded her from the darker side of the life of nobility, the politics, the maneuvering, and some of the realities of people's lives, like her sister, who will have to have a political marriage that will probably not be a good situation for her. So I think the main like part of the story is a lot about Corey growing and learning more about life and the world and people. A lot of it is also about, as she learns more, she wants to like protect her sister, which she doesn't really have any power to do, but she's trying to figure out like how can she help the people in her life as she learns more about the circumstances that they are in, and that their lives are not as pretty and shiny as she thought they were. There is also a bit of a romance in it, and there is a side plot about the Aliora, who are these fairies that are enslaved, as Corey also realizes as she grows up that what they are doing to these fairies is wrong. So yeah, they're just like, I don't think there's like a really clear central plot, but there are a lot of different plot pieces that sort of make it up. I feel like I read a lot of things this month that I feel like there wasn't like a clear driving plot. I'm just like, there are a lot of like pieces that kind of piece together and you're like, that's a story. This one had more of a plot to it than some of the other ones, but still kind of falls into that category, I think. But overall, I really enjoyed this. I liked the characters a lot. Corey, I liked her. I think she could be frustrating at times, especially because she is so naive, and there are definitely times where I'm like, Corey, you need to like put two and two together, like get there faster, you know? But she is very naive, but I do think that she grows over the course of the book and definitely learns more. At certain points it takes like literal magic to make her realize certain things, but you know, it happens eventually. I do really like, one of the things that I like about the way her character is written, especially when she is younger, when like at the beginning when she's 14, is that she really genuinely feels like a 14-year-old. She is not one of those characters who we are told is 14 but acts like they're, you know, 30 or something. So I appreciated that a lot about her, the way she is written, even if she could be frustrating at times. I also really liked that she is a healer, because her grandmother is the wise woman for their village, and she is going to she is learning to be a wise woman as well, to take up that role after her grandmother. And so she is a healer, she knows herb lore, all of this, which is just an element that I always enjoy in a character in a story. But I liked a lot of the other side characters as well. Her sister Alessandra, there we go. There's another character named Kent who I really liked, and a guard named Roderick, who maybe is my favorite because he was just great. But I really enjoyed this. I liked the writing and found it really easy to read. I think there are definitely elements of the characters, the relationships, and the plot that could have been fleshed out a lot more, and also could have had a little more like depth or grit to them. Overall, I really enjoyed this and I gave it 4 stars. I just really wanted more from it. So I think that if I had gotten like more to it and it had a little more depth to it, it would have been a 5-star, but I had a fun time with this. And then the final book that I read was Book of Enchantments, 10 Tales of Wonder by Patricia C. Reedy. This is a collection of short stories that are, so Patricia C. Reedy wrote the Enchanted Forest Chronicles, which I read as a kid and loved, and actually like I need to reread that series because it's such a fun series. The main reason I wanted to read this collection in particular is because one of the short stories in this is a retelling of the Todds sisters, which is the same story that Sister Song by Lucy Holland is a retelling of. It's a story that I really like that is not often retold, so I wanted to see what Patricia C. Reedy did with it. And as for that specific story, I really enjoyed it. I think that it was interesting. She added a third sister to the story who gave perspective to some of these characters and their like motivations and the dynamics between the 2 sisters who were normally in the story. Also, one of the other short stories in this takes place in the world of the Enchanted Forest Chronicles and includes like Cimarine and I think his name's Mendenbar. So it was fun to see those characters again, and also made me really like, I need to reread that. I need to reread that series because I like them so much. But yeah, so this was overall a fun short story collection to read. I'm not a big short story person, but as far as collections go, I did enjoy this one, so that was great. And short story collections are another thing that I don't tend to rate because like it's so many short stories, like how do you rate the book overall, you know? But as far as collections go, I liked this one. So those are all of the books that I read in July. I would love to know how your July reading went. What is your favorite book that you read in July? I think that my favorite was probably Summers at Castle Auburn, although I also really enjoyed Todds Song because it was super cute. But yeah, I'd love to know what was your favorite thing that you read in July. But thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye!